Karina Canellakis, you won the Georg Scholti Conducting Award. What did it mean to you? What has happened to you afterwards?
Well, that award came at a very good time for me because I was just completing my tenure as assistant conductor of the Dallas Symphony and starting a pretty crazy and hectic guest conducting schedule, which I've sort of kept up ever since then. So not having a regular orchestra, that award gave me the feeling that I was a little bit more established as a conductor, beside the fact that it was a huge honor to win any kind of award in Georg Scholti's name. So it was in many, many ways, in many layers, a really great thing, and the timing of it particularly was really perfect for me.
Speaking about conducting, you used to play the violin. It strikes me that many violinists take up the conducting baton. Why is that?
It may have something to do with the relationship between being a concertmaster and this being in a leadership position. I think prepares you very well for conducting because you have to also take a bit of distance in order to be in a leadership position. But I think also being a string player is very informative for conducting. If you are a really good string player, it helps so much with rehearsing and with conducting, with understanding even things such as tempi and, how fast something is realistically playable or what part of the bow needs to be used. I know that I talk to the strings a lot in the rehearsals because I know it's, first of all, they make up the majority of the orchestra and they make a lot of sound. And so it's very helpful and important to really know string playing when you're a conductor.
Don't the percussionists and the wind players feel somehow disregarded?
I think I also ask them for things. I think it first of all depends on the piece, and certain pieces have a lot more for the winds and brass to do than others. It depends on their function. In the classical repertoire, their function is very different for music that was written, for example, for natural instruments, natural horns and trumpets. And I think a lot of the woodwind material in what I love about certain orchestras that I've been to, also from today's rehearsal, they fix things themselves because it's only a small group of musicians. And in terms of intonation and balance, I can, of course, mention something, suggest, but then I know that that's more of something that makes them aware of what they need to do.
You mentioned being an assistant conductor. You worked for 2 years with Jaap van Zweden at the Dallas Symphony Orchestra. He was a violinist himself. What was it like to work with him?
I learned a lot from him, and he was a huge influence on me as a musician, and also the way that he works. I was very inspired by him because he's very, very much into the details, every single detail. And in America, we have an expression, the devil is in the details. And I really think that with his performances, you can hear the difference that he will not let anything go. That every small, tiny little thing has to be addressed and given care and attention. And also, Jaap van Zweden gave me some of my very first opportunities as a conductor. He is the one who really said to me, I believe you can do this, and you need to go do this. And I replaced him at the last minute when he was injured, actually twice, once for Shostakovich 8 and once for Shostakovich 7 the next year. But I had never conducted a piece of that magnitude before, and so it gave me a huge amount of confidence to realize that I could do it. And he was just very, very supportive of me, and that meant a lot to me.
Needing the courage and the faith in yourself, do you think it was a lack of female role models that did not make you in the first place wish to become or try to become a conductor?
Maybe. Looking back, I always wanted to pretend that there's no difference between a woman and a man and everything. But to be honest, probably the fact that I just didn't see anybody that looked anything like me on the podium. And I thought, well, I don't look like Riccardo Muti, so if I get up in front of an orchestra, maybe they will laugh at me, maybe they won't take me seriously. I also, aside from this, the female-male thing, played under so many great conductors that I had so much respect for the conductors I was working with regularly. This was Haitink, Boulez, Telemann, Rattle, Abado, Ozawa, Jansons. These were all the conductors I played under sort of on a regular basis. And they were so kind of exalted in my mind that I thought, well, this is ridiculous. I'm never going to be able to be like that. So if I couldn't be great, I didn't want to do it at all. That was the problem in the beginning. And it took a lot for me to be okay with not being so good in the beginning, because you have to go through that stage. That was really hard for me. Yeah.
So at what stage are you now?
Oh, that's a tricky question. I mean, I think I'm happy that now I feel like I can be myself in front of orchestras, and it works, and it's a good response. And I'm going back now to some orchestras regularly, which feels great to make a regular relationship with an orchestra that you love, who loves you, and everything felt really musically satisfying, like you did really rewarding work. And I couldn't ask for any more right now. I stopped thinking about myself. Thank goodness. You know, I think I got comfortable enough with the technique and the study process and the rehearsal process that now when I go into the rehearsal, I just go right into my role, which is to lead the rehearsal, to make it sound better as quick as possible, and also have a good time and enjoy being a musician. And that's all I think about. And so that's kind of where I am now. And I look forward to the development over the years, because that's also what's so beautiful about being a conductor, is that it's a lifelong pursuit. And one conductor that I studied with in master classes and also played under is Bernard Haitink, who just had his 89th birthday. So I see that and I think this is really amazing. How many years I have to look forward to, I hope.
Speaking about some conductors, you mentioned Jansons, but also Jorna Panula, Vasily Petrenko. They made derogatory remarks about women conductors. They said, well, I don't think they can do it. How do you deal with comments like those?
I couldn't care less. I really don't care what they say. I mean, you know, life is too short.
But they have influence. So are you not at all disturbed when they say things like those?
I mean, I try not to pay attention, and I hope that because it's the year 2018, that people realize that saying something like that is just, it's totally ridiculous. I mean, how can you take it seriously? I don't feel so angry about it because I can understand how a man who is much older, not from a young man, but from a much older man who is used to the world being a certain way, to see suddenly someone that looks different in a new role can be difficult or can be hard to get used to. But I think it shouldn't be taken so seriously by people because it's just one person's opinion and actually they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, as a conductor, did you have any heroes or heroines? For instance, Marin Alsop was one, I think, who was relatively well featured in the States.
Yeah, Marin Alsop actually has an award for female conductors, which I won. And so she helped me. Without her, I don't think any of us from my generation would be so free right now to do it. And I do realize that. You know, I try to ignore it, but she did cut through the jungle for everyone else. She made a path for everyone else, and I'm very, very thankful and grateful to her for doing that, setting the things a little bit differently for the rest of us. My heroes, I mean, I have a lot of sort of musicians who have inspired me over the years, and it has changed from week to week based on who I'm working with. Of course, Simon Rattle. Esa-Pekka Salonen is one of those. Christian Thielemann is one of those. And, it is difficult because it could be that some of my heroes are exactly the same people who think that women shouldn't conduct. This is definitely very possible. And all I can say is I hope they come to one of my concerts,
As a woman conductor, do you feel a commitment to women composers whose work is still also not often played?
I am starting to put more attention to especially forgotten composers, also men who I am worried will be forgotten or will be less played. For example, the late Stephen Stuckey, who's one of the great, great composers that the world has ever known, who passed away way too young, great American composer. But there are female composers. For example, in September, I'm doing a piece by Lily Boulanger, who died tragically at the age of 24. Lily Boulanger was a genius on the level of Mozart. Of course, her sister Nadia Boulanger was the famous one for also teaching generations of people ear training. But Lily was apparently on another level, even from Nadia. And her music is unbelievable. And I only discovered it recently. So something like that, I definitely feel, wow, especially the women from the early part of the 20th century and even before that, who were completely unable to be free or promote their own works. They were always in the shadow of their husband or, whatever in society. Yes, but I also think it's really important that we don't make a thing out of it, because it still has to be just something that happens without talking about it. And I know that there are certain orchestras that program many female composers in the season, but they don't talk about it, they just do it. And it's the same with conducting. I think we don't need to talk about it anymore, we just need to do it.